You know, there are just some players who have not lived up to our expectations throughout their career so far. But 2023 just might be the year that it finally happens. Hey, real quick before I get into that, I gotta remind you once again, flockfantasy.com/endgame is the place to be this fantasy football season. If you haven't heard, we have partnered with Mason from Flock, the guys from Fantasyland, and the guys from Fantasy Stock Exchange to bring the first ever YouTube creator collaboration website, everything you need to crush your fantasy leagues this year. And if you join using promo code ENDGAME, not only do you get 30% off any subscription, but you're going to get priority access to our mock drafts. You're going to get access to our courses that will help you crush your drafts this season. Plus, you're going to get access to our member-only live streams where we help you set those lineups, help you make those waiver claims. So flockfantasy.com/endgame. Get access to everything from all of these amazing creators, articles, videos, rankings, cheat sheets, and more. Plus, the bonus stuff here at Endgame specifically. Flockfantasy.com/endgame. 30% off. Join now. All right, let's start with Big Mike Williams, wide receiver of the Chargers. This is a guy who had massive expectations ever since he was drafted in the first round, way back in 2017. He's had some nice years. He's put up some nice numbers, but he's never really put it all together. But there's reason to believe 2023 could finally be the year we see Mike Williams hit his ceiling. Because this is a guy who's a big play wide receiver every time he steps on the field. I mean, check out these numbers throughout his career. Taking out his rookie year, 15 yards per reception, 20 yards per reception, 15, 14.2 last year. This isn't a guy who needs 150 targets, 100 and plus catches. This guy just needs to be used the right way. And we've seen it the last couple of years. He wasn't used the right way in Joe Lombardi's offense. I mean, take a look at the difference between a Joe Lombardi offense and a Kellen Moore offense, who's now the new offensive coordinator coming over from Dallas. So these are Justin Herbert's numbers from last year. 6.8 yards per attempt, 25th. 6.5 air yards per attempt, 32nd. There were only 32 starting QBs in the league. They are badly misusing this guy. This guy has a cannon arm, and they're just having him dink and dunk all over the field, and that really hurt Mike Williams to a degree last year. But check out Dak Prescott with Kellen Moore. 7.3 yards per attempt, 13th. 8.5 air yards per attempt, 10th. This offense is going to utilize the vertical passing game way more. They've got Justin Herbert. They've got a good offensive line. There's no reason not to take shots down the field. Let Big Mike do his thing. I think Mike Williams is going to have his best season of his career this year, and people are really sleeping on him because he just hasn't lived up to expectations so far, but 2023 could be the year. Now let's go to a wide receiver. I've been telling people not to draft for years, and now I'm telling you it's time to draft DJ Moore. Yes, it is finally time to draft DJ Moore now of the Chicago Bears. And I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, this isn't a good situation. This is a bad passing offense. And yes, last year it was a bad passing offense because they had Darnell Mooney for like half the season, Chase Claypool, who looks like a bust. I mean, Cole Kmet was really their best pass catcher last year. So obviously this was going to be a bad passing offense last year. But this was a historically bad passing offense. I mean, look at this. 22.2 pass attempts per game. What is this, the 1950s? I mean, come on. Even if this isn't one of the top passing offenses this year, they're going to get better. And look, there are some teams here. Philadelphia, the Saints, San Francisco. We like these passing offenses. We like these wide receivers in these offenses, and they don't throw the ball a ton. All the Bears really have to do is get around that 30 pass attempts per game mark, and DJ Moore will be fine. Because even though DJ Moore hasn't put up big numbers yet, he's still a very good player. Look at this route tree for DJ Moore. He can do pretty much everything. He can run pretty much every single route. The Bears are going to line him up all over the field. They're going to use him in different ways. And he's going to get a massive target share in this offense because who else do they have? I mean, talked about Darnell Mooney, maybe Chase Claypool, again, looking like a bust. Sure, Cole Kmet's a nice tight end. I do like Tyler Scott, but I mean, he's a rookie with like 5th round draft capital. DJ Moore is going to have a massive target share in an offense that is certainly going to throw the ball more with a quarterback in Justin Fields, who's better than any quarterback he's played with. This is finally the time to draft DJ Moore, and he finally doesn't let people down. The problem is, all the people who used to draft DJ Moore aren't drafting him anymore, so the people who are going to benefit are people like you and I who've never drafted him and are finally ready. All right, can't only talk about wide receivers, so let's talk about a running back who I know has let people down pretty much every year of his career, and that is DeAndre Swift, currently being drafted with the number 64 pick. I mean, say what you will about DeAndre Swift, but getting them at pick 64 feels like a pretty low-risk investment to me. And the thing you got to like, number one, is he's out of Detroit, where he really wasn't used much at all last year. I mean, look at this opportunity numbers. 42nd in snap share among running backs. 51st in opportunity share. 51st? What are we doing, Lions? 28th in weighted opportunities. Now he goes to the Eagles, where the Eagles did trade a future 4th-round pick for this guy, which is a pretty big investment in a running back on the last year of his deal in today's NFL. And look, even though the Lions didn't use Swift very much last year, this guy was great when given the opportunity. Look at these numbers. Look at these efficiency numbers here. 8th in true yards per carry. 2nd among all running backs in yards per touch. Why aren't you giving this guy the ball, Dan Campbell? 16th in juke rate. 18th in yards created, but I mean, it's hard to have a ton of yards created when you're not getting the ball a lot, but still to be a top 18 running back. 2nd in yards created per touch. Like, why is this guy not getting the ball more? 8th in production premium. He's a talented player. He doesn't need a ton of touches. Now he's going into a situation that might be even better than Detroit. Because according to Pro Football Focus, the Philadelphia Eagles have the best offensive line for the 2nd year in a row. Every one of their offensive linemen pretty much is a stud. So he's going to be behind a better offensive line than he even had in Detroit. And you got to think the Eagles didn't go out and trade for DeAndre Swift to have him have a terrible role like he had in Detroit. And really, who's really preventing DeAndre Swift from getting more touches? I mean, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott, maybe Rashad Penny, who's actually good, but he can't stay on the field. He's only played 10 or more games twice in his entire career. He's never had more than 119 carries. He's only gone over 100 carries once. Every time this guy plays 3 or 4 or 5 games in a row, he gets hurt. I think DeAndre Swift, on a contract year, by the way, balls out this year, plays great, kind of like what we saw with Josh Jacobs last year, playing for that money, playing for that extension. I think Swift does it, and people are finally giving up on him because he's let them down years after year. Now is the time to draft him, take the value and the upside. And then finally, one more wide receiver. I know Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave getting all the love among the second-year wide receivers, and deservedly so, but don't forget about Drake London. I know what people say. He's on the Falcons. It's not a good situation. They don't use him right, but that is not true at all. People who say that aren't really looking. They're just looking at fantasy points and saying, oh, Falcons aren't using him, because after the bye week last year, they showed us how they're probably going to use not only Drake London, but also Desmond Ridder. So look here after the team came out of their bye week, which also coincides when they named Desmond Ridder the starter. 11 targets, 9 targets, 8 targets, 8 targets. Those are elite target numbers. Had 5 or more catches in every game. You will absolutely take that. Had 70 or more yards in 3 of his 4 games. These are fantastic numbers. And he didn't have any touchdowns during this stretch. Imagine if he had scored a touchdown or 2. He would have been a monster down the stretch last year. And also look at the difference in this offense when they did give the ball to Desmond Ridder. 26 pass attempts, 33 pass attempts, 26 pass attempts, 30 pass attempts. They threw the ball much more. They're going to throw the ball more this year. They threw the ball more. They're going to throw the ball more this year. No, they're not going to be a top passing offense, but again, kind of like the Bears and DJ Moore. If they can get around that 30 passes per game mark, Drake London will be just fine because he's an absolute baller. Check out this guy's route tree coming out of his rookie year. He can pretty much do it all, so don't be surprised if Drake London has a monster second year this year. And I know he hasn't let people down a ton over his career because he's only played 1 year, but a lot of people were really high on him last year. He disappointed. They think this offense won't be able to support him, but it will, and people who can see it coming and take advantage and get him at his price will reap the rewards. So those are some players who are secretly ready to explode in 2023, but who are some players I have to draft every chance I can? Check out this video right here to find out.